A world intertwined from global assemblies to regional crises. The world watched this week as global leaders convened for the UN General Assembly. This annual event is more than just a meeting. It is a symbol of our collective efforts to address the pressing issues of our time. This annual gathering serves as a stark reminder of our interconnectedness. Leaders from every corner of the globe come together, bringing with them the hopes and concerns of their people. From the halls of power in New York City to the war-torn streets of Ukraine, the decisions made here have far-reaching consequences. From the arid Sahel region of Africa to the typhoon-ravaged islands of Southeast Asia, the impact of these discussions is felt worldwide. Events this week underscore the shared challenges and responsibilities we face as global citizens. The crises we witness are not isolated, they are interconnected, affecting us all. As diplomats debated strategies for addressing climate change and regulating artificial intelligence, the urgency of these issues was palpable. The human toll of inaction was felt acutely in regions grappling with conflict, poverty, and natural disasters. The images of suffering and resilience remind us of the stakes involved. The stark contrast between rhetoric and reality highlights the urgency of translating words into action. Promises made in the comfort of conference rooms must be realized on the ground. The need for global cooperation has never been greater. In a world where borders are increasingly irrelevant, our collective fate is intertwined. The complexities of our world demand comprehensive solutions. Simple fixes are no longer sufficient. We need coordinated, multifaceted approaches. From the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Ukraine to the escalating violence in the Middle East, the challenges are immense and varied. From the crippling debt burdens in Africa to the ever-present threat of climate change, the issues are interconnected. Each problem exacerbates the others, creating a complex web of challenges. Addressing them requires a coordinated global response. No single nation can tackle these issues alone. It requires a united effort. The events of this past week serve as a potent reminder. We are all part of a global community, and our actions have far-reaching consequences. We live in a world where a typhoon in Asia can impact food security in Africa, where the ripple effects of one event can be felt thousands of miles away, where a war in Europe can disrupt energy markets globally, affecting economies and livelihoods far beyond the conflict zone, and where a pandemic can bring the world to a standstill, highlighting our vulnerabilities and the need for robust global health systems. Our ability to address these challenges will determine the course of our future. The decisions we make today will shape the world for generations to come. It is a daunting task, but also an opportunity. By working together, we can create a more resilient, equitable, and sustainable world for all. The path forward requires courage, collaboration, and a commitment to shared values. Only then can we hope to navigate the complexities of our interconnected world. The future is in our hands. Let us rise to the challenge and build a better world for future generations. The UN General Assembly, now in its 79th session, once again provided a platform for world leaders to address pressing global issues. This annual gathering is a crucial event where leaders from every corner of the globe come together to discuss, debate, and hopefully find solutions to the most pressing challenges facing humanity today. However, the gathering was marked by both a sense of urgency and a palpable undercurrent of geopolitical tension. The stakes have never been higher, and the atmosphere in the Assembly Hall reflected the gravity of the issues at hand. The escalating rivalry between major powers cast a long shadow over the proceedings, threatening to undermine any prospects for meaningful cooperation. Delegates whispered among themselves, aware that the decisions made here could have far-reaching consequences. Climate change emerged as a dominant theme, with Secretary-General António Guterres delivering a stark warning about the need for immediate action. His speech was a clarion call to the world, emphasizing that the window for effective action is rapidly closing. He called upon nations to accelerate their efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and transition to cleaner energy sources. The visual of solar panels and wind turbines served as a reminder of the potential for renewable energy to transform our world. Guterres emphasized the disproportionate impact of climate change on developing countries, urging wealthier nations to fulfill their financial commitments to support climate adaptation and mitigation efforts. The images of flooded villages and drought-stricken fields underscored the urgent need for action. The regulation of artificial intelligence also took center stage, with leaders acknowledging both the transformative potential and inherent risks of this rapidly evolving technology. The discussions highlighted the dual-edged nature of AI, capable of both incredible advancements and significant disruptions. Concerns were raised about the potential for job displacement, the spread of misinformation, and the weaponization of AI. The fear of losing jobs to automation and the threat of AI being used to manipulate information were key points of contention. Calls for international cooperation to establish ethical guidelines and regulatory frameworks for AI development and deployment echoed throughout the Assembly Hall. The consensus was clear. Without a unified approach, the risks associated with AI could outweigh its benefits. Despite the emphasis on cooperation, geopolitical tensions simmered beneath the surface. The strained expressions of delegates hinted at the underlying conflicts that could derail collective efforts. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine, the escalating rivalry between the United States and China, and the resurgence of nationalism and protectionism continue to undermine global unity. These issues are not just political, they have real, tangible impacts on the lives of millions. The challenge for the international community remains bridging these divides and finding common ground on issues of shared concern. The image of world leaders shaking hands juxtaposed with heated discussions serves as a powerful metaphor for the delicate balance between diplomacy and discord. The urgency of the climate crisis was palpable throughout the UN General Assembly. The atmosphere was charged with a sense of impending danger, as leaders from around the globe gathered to discuss one of the most pressing issues of our time. Secretary-General Guterres' impassioned plea for immediate action resonated with many world leaders, particularly those representing island nations already facing the existential threat of rising sea levels. His words echoed through the hall, a stark reminder of the dire consequences of inaction. The science is unequivocal, climate change is real, it is accelerating, and it poses an unprecedented challenge to humanity. Glaciers are melting at alarming rates, polar ice caps are shrinking, and scientists are working tirelessly to understand the full scope of these changes. The impacts of climate change are already being felt worldwide, from more frequent and intense heat waves and droughts. Urban areas are sweltering under relentless heat while farmlands are turning to dust, threatening food security for millions. To more powerful storms and rising sea levels. Coastal communities are being battered by hurricanes, and rising waters are encroaching on homes, turning streets into rivers. These extreme weather events are displacing communities, disrupting food systems, and exacerbating poverty and inequality. Families are being forced to flee their homes, seeking refuge in emergency shelters, while food distribution networks struggle to cope with the increased demand. The human cost of inaction is simply too high to ignore. People are suffering from heat stroke, homes are being destroyed by natural disasters, and emergency workers are risking their lives to rescue flood victims. Developing countries, often the least responsible for historical greenhouse gas emissions, are disproportionately vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. These nations are on the front lines, facing the brunt of climate-related disasters with limited resources. They lack the resources and infrastructure to adapt to a rapidly changing climate, making them more susceptible to climate-related disasters and economic shocks. The damage to infrastructure is extensive, and the ability to respond to emergencies is severely hampered. International climate finance therefore emerged as a key point of contention during the Assembly. The discussions were intense, with leaders debating the best ways to mobilize the necessary funds to support climate action. Wealthy nations, historically the largest emitters, pledged to mobilize $100 billion per year by 2020 to support climate action in developing countries. These pledges were seen as a crucial step towards addressing the imbalance in climate responsibility. However, this target remains unmet, fueling frustration and mistrust among developing nations. The gap between promises and reality has led to protests and vocal expressions of concern from those most affected. The call for increased climate finance, coupled with demands for debt relief and access to technology, will continue to dominate climate negotiations in the years to come. These issues are intertwined, and addressing them is essential for a sustainable and equitable future. The rapid advancement of artificial intelligence presents both unprecedented opportunities and significant challenges for humanity. The UN General Assembly served as a platform for world leaders to grapple with the complex ethical and societal implications of this transformative technology. While acknowledging AI's potential to revolutionize healthcare, education, and countless other sectors, leaders also expressed concerns about its potential for misuse. One of the most pressing concerns is the potential for AI to exacerbate existing inequalities. As AI-powered automation reshapes industries, there is a risk that jobs will be displaced, disproportionately impacting low-skilled workers. Moreover, the development and deployment of AI systems raise concerns about bias, discrimination, and the erosion of privacy. The potential for AI to be weaponized also loomed large in the discussions. Autonomous weapons systems, capable of selecting and engaging targets without human intervention, raise profound ethical and legal questions. The international community faces an urgent need to establish clear norms and regulations governing the development and use of AI in warfare. The UN Secretary-General called for a global dialogue on AI ethics, emphasizing the need for international cooperation to ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly. He urged nations to work together to establish ethical guidelines and regulatory frameworks that promote innovation while safeguarding human rights and preventing the misuse of this powerful technology.